This morning we're talking about running uphill. Our next guest decided to give up custody of her children after getting a divorce. She's written a book called Journeys of Women Without Custody. Please welcome Dr. Annette Pagano. Thank you so much for coming in, Annette.
Thanks.
Let's go back. The year was 1983. You had 3 young children, 8, 6, and 4, and your marriage was ending. Then you decided to give up custody of your children to your husband. Tell us what happened.
I was in a position where I wasn't able to financially or emotionally provide for them, and that was the chief decision in relinquishing custody. They knew that we were getting divorced. We sat down and told them that we were getting divorced.
But they didn't know that Mommy was leaving.
No, they really didn't. We just said that it was very important for them to know that we loved them very much.
So what exactly did you feel or think that you would get from leaving your children? What were you looking for?
Well, I just made the responsible decision that they be with their father, because he was in a place where I didn't want to disrupt their home. We had a family business, a daycare center, and I did not want to disrupt their lives. And it was my choice to leave. And that was it. You know,
we're talking about running uphill, and certainly you were doing that. Was there something at the top of that hill that you were looking for, that you were expecting?
Well, what happened here is I hit rock bottom. I had a failed marriage. I felt I was in a position where I couldn't even financially afford to keep my children with me, and emotionally I was in a devastated position. So there was no way but to go uphill. There was just no way to go up but to go up.
And I wonder, how did your friends and family react to your decision, this drastic decision?
My parents were incredibly supportive, and so were my brothers and sisters. They were incredibly supportive. I had a few cousins that didn't understand too well, and I even had an aunt who told me, "You're not a mother because your children aren't with you and you left them." But pretty much they were supportive. I had co-workers who were supportive, but there were the raised eyebrows.
Yeah, in society, men are almost always in your position. They don't have custody of the children. We don't think twice about it.
Right.
So how did that make you feel? Like, hey, wait, I'm making a decision here that's to make myself a better person, so that on the other end I can be a loving mom to my children. And society says, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You're a mother.
Well, I felt, it was 1983, and I have to admit, I almost felt like I was a social activist, that it was almost an issue of equality, that men leave and rebuild their lives after, and that's what, and if men could do it, I should be able to do that too.
And that was probably one of the reasons you wrote the book, Journeys of Women Without Custody, because there were other women you found out there who went through the same thing.
I did, but it's funny how they just emerge. I found out about these other women on a website that I just ended up going on, and that's how I found them. But it's interesting on how many women you just trip over and don't tell you that they don't have custody of their children until it's something that you share, because
it's still taboo even today.
Oh, yes.
As it certainly was in 1983.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Did you ever feel a sense of guilt through all of this?
Guilt is part of the package. That's part of the package. It's, you relinquish custody, or even you lose custody because you want to be this ultimate caregiver. And you either feel like you can't be the ultimate caregiver because that's the way we build mothers. Mothers are ultimate caregivers. They do everything perfectly. Fathers can be haphazard in their caregiving, and mothers cannot. Society even tells mothers, puts them on the pedestal, they're the ultimate caregivers. Nothing's like the care for mommy. But fathers can be the haphazard person. And even the judicial system judges women as needing to be ultimate caregivers, and that's why they end up losing custody. And we relinquish custody because our own sense of self, we don't believe of us as being ultimate caregivers, and so we relinquish custody. And it's interesting on how that works out that way.
Now your children are grown. You remarried eventually, had another child. I wonder, did you ever think the second time around, am I going to get through this? Or, did you have any...
Well, having another child in my 40s was a big decision. It was a big decision, but it was the best decision I made in my life. My son has brought very special things to the whole entire family, and my son Gavin was 20 years old when I had my son Thomas. 20 years difference, and it grounded me, and it made me appreciate the ordinary in life. And I was planning to go back to work when Thomas was 6 weeks old, and I was not going to give up my career and all this. And I remember my son Gavin coming in from college, because it was the summer when he was born, coming in to visit me because Thomas was about 3 or 4 days old. And I looked down at Thomas, and I looked at my son Gavin, and I felt like I blinked and those 20 years went by. And that's when I decided, I'm staying home. I'm taking care of this little boy for a while.
Did your 3 children from your first marriage, did they ever forgive you?
Well, you know something? I don't know if there was a forgiven is the word, but our relationship definitely evolved. An understanding, not forgiveness, but an understanding of what happened.
And you have a good relationship today.
We have a wonderful relationship.
Annette, you really came full circle. What did you get out of your experience, and would you do it again the same way?
I relinquished custody at that time because I didn't have an education. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have a profession. I wasn't in a position where I could support my children financially. And so that would be my answer. I would do it again. And what was so wonderful about it is that in the middle of my doctoral program is when I had my son Thomas, and it was a cathartic experience to be able to interview other women who were non-custodial mothers and to give them a voice, and to give the research about mothers and what it is to be a non-custodial mother visibility. So.
And you didn't have this kind of resource when you were going through this, so
No.
This is the type of book that can really help
Yes.
mothers out there who are going through the same struggles.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in. For more information on Dr. Annette Pagano or the National Organization for Non-Custodial Mothers, please visit our New Morning website at FaithStream.